My research covers mainly areas dealing with state and local government. I'm interested in how different policy changes affect the services that local governments provide. So some of the research I've been working on lately with a couple of my colleagues has to do with local government consolidation when cities and counties decide to merge into one government. We've also been looking at some instances where local government consolidations were attempted here in Indiana. We've been looking at why the successful ones took place. When they're more similar, it seems to be more likely that the consolidation goes through.
As a researcher, I'm interested in examining how public, nonprofit, and private sector organizations are collaborating and interacting to produce a better policy. In particular, I'm interested in how civil society are engaging in producing a better and productive policy narrative. And also, I try to understand as a researcher how different organizations are collaborating in the provision of public services to the citizen.
I do a lot of GIS and spatial analysis, and with GIS, it kind of opens up a whole lot of doors. We can look at, voting patterns. We can look at polarization. We can look at policies. Who's doing it, who's not doing it, where it's successful, where it's not. So there's a lot of spatial dynamics to this.
Generically speaking, I study technology and politics. I'm really interested in the intersection of online technologies and politics. I focus a lot on organizational communication. Just recently came out with a book that looks at higher education and how universities and colleges can use social media and the types of things that impact whether or not faculty adopt and adapt social media in the classroom. I've also done some research on the impact of, for example, social media, particularly Facebook, and what belonging or joining Facebook means for things like social capital and political participation. So much of my research sort of spans the divide between political science and public administration, focusing on technology.
My research is something I sort of stumbled into as an MPA student, because when I entered the MPA program at the University of Delaware, it was the fall of 2001 in August, and I was gung-ho about money and budgeting and tax policy and bureaucratic waste and that sort of stuff. And then I found myself on an airplane on 9/11. So that kind of organized what I was doing. And while I still look at things like bureaucratic waste and stuff like that, it's through the lens of disaster management, homeland security, and what we're doing to prepare for, mitigate, respond to, or recover from all kinds of different natural or man-made sort of disasters. And my research has looked a lot at local governments and how they do or they don't implement policies, right, that the federal government has put forth, especially since 9/11. And what we're trying to get done in order to create this sort of standardized system that makes things quote-unquote easier, but at the same time gets a lot of pushback from folks at the local level saying, hey, I kind of know what's going on here in my town, and I know what I need to prepare for and how I can spend my really small budget. So, having the federal government come in and tell me I've got to do something completely different isn't exactly helpful. And you see that sort of give and take in all kinds of other policy areas, but especially in this one where, disaster can happen at a moment's notice, right? So, how do we get all this aligned and together is really tricky.